It's been a bit of an interesting week as far as weeks go in the old land of 40k. We've had previews coming out of every other orifice that there is, and we're going to go over them today. And I am joined by my erstwhile colleagues, Jamie and Chris. Say hello, boys.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Well, guys, have you been keeping up with these previews? Because I've been covering them. I hope you've been watching them. You better have been watching my fucking content, boy.
I watched all of them, Ben, yes.
Yeah. Hear that, Chris? That's what a good friend sounds like.
A bored friend.
Yeah, a bored friend. Also a good friend. But, yeah. We've had not 9th edition previews this week. And they've been quite interesting.
So what exactly has been interesting about the previews this week then? So what have we had? Because I know I've seen some of the previews and I've read some of them, but I'm not exactly clued up on all of it.
Well,
What
Chris,
have you been doing, Chris?
Things, Jamie, life outside of
I want to know
Warhammer.
what these things are.
Well,
you've not been outside. There's nothing out there for anyone, Chris.
You
There's
can't
only
go outside, you can't do anything. All you can do is look at the internet. What have you been doing?
stuff.
Right.
Anyway. Well, besides Chris lying about what he's been doing, GW started strong, and they started strong this week with something that wasn't even really. Well, it is sort of, but not really focused on the new rules of quote-unquote 9th edition, but they previewed the new weapon for the Scorpath Destroyer, the new Spider Boys of the Necrons, and oh yes, it makes me happy, and I'm not even a Necron player. And then I think about Jamie having it and hitting me with it, then it makes me less happy.
Makes me happy.
I fucking bet it fucking does. I'd be fucking happy if I had a weapon with that kind of profile. Strength +2, -4 AP, flat 3 damage. And as we all know, flat 3 damage is better than D6 damage every day of the week.
Yep.
So, go on, Jamie. Just tell me how happy this makes you.
Extremely happy. Makes my penis hard.
As well it should. And not forgetting, boys, that this also could tie in, because these things are technically destroyers, with that horrible stratagem Jamie has that makes things. Is it reroll hits and wounds?
Yeah, well, we don't know that, do we?
No, we don't know it, but we can infer it. If all stratagems are staying around and these guys technically have the destroyer keyword.
One can only hope.
And that might not be the only weapon loadout for these guys, because in the picture below, this
It's still the one I'm taking.
Well, yeah, but they inferred with the picture they leaked on, well, not leaked, they showed on that date that there was 2 other weapon options. One guy with two one-handed swords, and another guy with like swords on his wrists, like glaive sort of things. So be interesting to see what those loadouts were. I mean, I know one would be the strong one, and this is obviously it, but I know one would be attacks. I can't imagine what the third one would be, like, unless he's got like a deflect or a block thing going on.
Don't know, I can't fathom that one myself.
But interesting anyway. That's the strong start for this week's previews, and then it moved into like 9th edition, quote unquote. No one's actually called it 9th edition. It's like, as a community, we're just all deciding to call it that, but no one's officially said it. Yeah, I know, but it's not official, is it? No one said from GW Towers like this is 9th edition. I know that's nitpicking at this point, but it's just really interesting. I would have thought they would have said it's 9th.
It is, isn't it?
No, it is an all but name. But, thinking about it, with everything that we're seeing so far, it may as well just be 8.5. Because it doesn't look like anything's getting rejigged to like a massive amount. It's just tweaking and streamlining so far.
I'm not like they did with 8. It's
No.
the same but different.
I think that's the tagline they're going for, the same but different. But the first little bit we saw was the restructuring of how the battle round works, because now, before the actual movement phase, we're getting a new phase, like the command phase, where we generate command points and have all sorts of command related things going on. I hasn't gone into too much detail what we get there, but we do know that we will be generating command points, 1 per turn. in that particular phase.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they did release a video as well with I found that particularly interesting because you could see all the guys and girls that they must have had this edition. I mean, how early do you think these playtesters get this edition? It's got to be months in advance.
It must have been about 6 months.
Yeah, it's got to be for them to like hammer out all the issues and playtest things to death so they can make sure it works right.
It must have been before the start of all the Psychic Awakening nonsense.
It's got to be. I mean, they've said that Psychic Awakening was done with the knowledge of this edition was going to come out. I mean, we know GW works 3 years in advance, but I was just curious on how early these playtesters get this kind of thing.
Yeah, I
I
suspect
think having
that.
a stab at it, you need a good half a year, I think.
Yeah, I suspect that there's probably been a team like internally within GW that have been obviously trying to hash out the rules as much as possible, and then I guess a beta version was sent out to the playtesters for them to sort of feedback on and for them to further streamline it and develop it.
But they did also say they were going to get a sort of section of the rule book where it will clear up all those uncertainties, you know, like rule sequencing and that kind of thing. I mean, as far as like 40k goes, I mean, this has been a problem since day one. There's like whose rule takes precedent and things like that. I mean, most of these times it's solved by coin flip or whose turn it is first, but now we're sort of getting, it looks like we're getting like a section in the book which like breaks down the nuances of handling these particular scenarios.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, that will.
I think it
won't eliminate it all. It can't.
No, but I think what hopefully this will do is eliminate the need for a ton of additional house rules, which I know we've already discussed. So it'll just help to clear things up, make things a lot more, I guess, in inverted commas, realistic, or just allow them to make more sense, and just streamline the gameplay. So hopefully it gets rid of the need for, you know, your own custom house rules, and therefore the rules that we play will be also the rules pretty much played throughout the entire world. So there's not going to be too much deviation from it.
Yeah, it's you're never going to get away from grey area though in this game because there's so many mechanics going on with different units, different rules, different like there's just the weight of rules is just mind-boggling. So there's going to be scenarios where they must have not thought this might have happened because there's obviously then you're into the grey area. But as long as they minimise that sort of grey area, so the majority of it's like cut and dry, so you know what to do in any particular scenario, it just helps games move on, doesn't it? Because how much time do you think gets wasted in an average game just like debating this kind of like sequencing or a rules grey area? Because
that depends.
We know
how much have we drank at this point?
Well, yeah, I'm assuming a lot because it's us.
But 2 cans.
Yeah.
Ooh, only 2 cans. Oh, I don't know. But probably depends on the rule. Maybe 10 minutes on average, 5 to 10 minutes.
Well, yeah, but
We'll just toss on it. That's what we usually do.
What you do in your own home is your business, sir.
I beg your pardon. Jesus Christ.
But on top of like a 3-hour game, you know, you don't want to be wasting any more time unnecessarily debating, you know, how this particular rule is interpreted. It's just one of those things. Hopefully this like section of the rule book will clear up most of those sort of misconceptions, or like I said before, grey area, which will be good. The second one that they did a drop on was the new Crusade system. Now, Jamie, I know you don't like points. No, you love points. You don't like power. That's right, isn't it?
I'm indifferent to power.
Yeah, but you've always preferred points, haven't you?
I prefer points, yeah.
I'm starting to warm up to power a lot more because I pen and pencil all my stuff. I mean, we don't know how much utility we're going to get out of the app, but I'm thinking I might just start using power going forward because there's not so much bookkeeping involved in it. I mean, there's still a bit of bookkeeping, but it's just easier to work out, I suppose. And this,
well, I think it's going to be a lot easier to work out anyway, and to figure out your army lists going forward with the new app. Hopefully, anyway. I mean, we obviously don't really know too much about what the app is going to entail just yet, but from what I can gather, it should make list building a whole lot easier.
God, I hope so.
Yeah, so I think it should be a lot simpler going forward, and therefore the issue with making sure you've got the correct points and all that type of stuff will hopefully be a thing of the past.
But the new Crusade system that they've previewed, this when they originally said this at the weekend preview, it piqued my interest because I always liked the idea of like games that carry over from one to the next sort of thing. You can develop characters. I mean, we sort of do that now anyway to a limited extent. I mean, like Chris,
we've talked about that kind of thing in the past, like doing it properly, haven't we? We've
yeah,
never done it.
No. But we have, sort of. I mean, Chris has got that Dark Reaper that he's specially marked out for taking out your construct on his own.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah, Steve.
Good old Steve. I love Steve. Yeah, he's waiting for his second mark, Jay. He's waiting for that moment again when he can add that second scar.
Do you want to explain that in case people haven't got a clue what we're talking about?
Well, basically...
Yeah, go on, Ben.
Go on, Chris. No. I won't steal your thunder. Go on. You did the deed.
From what I can remember now, basically, I think it was Jamie's first outing with his, or the first game he used his Construct, and my Dark Reapers, I think, were whittled down to a single Dark Reaper. And his Construct had maybe a couple of wounds left after everything else had fired. So this guy just had one pot shot at him, and he managed to just finish him off.
I had a plan to get that thing through the next turn and start regenerating it. I had a plan.
But Steve denied him. So basically, to honour that victory and to honour that kill, I gave Steve a mark across his eye, like a predator mark. So he will forever have that mark.
So now I know which one he is in every game that we play.
And he's always going to be the last one to die. I'm not taking him off, just to spite you, in the hope as well that he can get another kill.
Yeah. But that kind of thing, anyway.
Yeah, and so we do this kind of sort of mini narrative stuff anyway. I mean, obviously it's not super in depth. We take the mick a bit. Obviously, we take the piss quite liberally. But with this new Crusade system, it's interesting because you didn't play Kill Team at all, did you, Jay? I know Chris did. Me and Chris had a dabble in it.
No.
There was an annoying amount of bookkeeping. Now, I don't like bookkeeping at the best times, but there was an annoying amount of bookkeeping, keeping track of who had what stat, what injuries they suffered, and that kind of thing. I mean, the actual rule pamphlet when you bought it came with sections at the back with cards they had to write on and keep track of things like that. So, as far as this new Crusade system goes, the idea is solid. Obviously, you have a small game to start off with, say 500 points. You build it, and your units and obviously your dudes and whatnot get experience over time. They may suffer battle injuries. They may get unique abilities given to them, or like your warlord or characters might pick up unique pieces of war gear, like they showed off in the preview. Now, how would you guys be looking into something like that? Would you do something like that?
Yeah, I just think it has a lot more. Rather than just every game being completely sort of self-contained and isolated to that one game, it just means that you have things which carry on. It's got a continuous narrative, and it allows you to get a little bit more immersed in the sort of story. And yeah, I wouldn't go as far as to say as role-playing side of things. I'm not personally into that sort of game, but yeah, I just think it adds that extra little bit to the game rather than it just being just what's in front of you.
I think it's going to be interesting to watch a lot of the big YouTube communities or big YouTube channels do this, because I can see a lot of conversions going on. Let's say if a scout starts off and eventually they'll start modding him to have scars and arm bits of him blown off and cybernetic stuff like that. I think that would be really interesting to watch. I mean, I'd love the idea. I'd never put in the... I'm far too lazy to put in the time and effort to constantly mod a model after every game. But it would be fun. It would be fun to watch someone else do that. That's where you two guys weigh in.
Right, sorry, was that a question? I thought that was just a point you were making.
I know.
Yeah.
At the end of that, Ben.
That is the point I was trying to make, but I thought you guys would weigh in a bit more on that.
Yeah, I can see that, and I do like to customize models, and I do like to, give them a little bit more personality. So yeah, I'm all for that, and I think seeing what other big sort of YouTubers, as you said, do with that will be quite fun to see the results of. So.
Hmm.
Yeah. My problem with this is narrative play doesn't have to be balanced at all, does it?
It's power, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, what's to stop one side running away with the campaign and getting more, as it requisition points or whatever, and then their units keep getting stronger and stronger, and you keep losing, so yours don't, and that kind of thing.
Well, this is the thing. They've not given any other information in regards to that. I mean, we can only assume it'll be internally balanced. Let's say the victor, like when they choose the next battle map, they'll have like conditions for the winner and the loser of the last round, sort of like to give the loser the advantage and the winner the disadvantage kind of thing.
That's what I mean, though. I mean, the winner's going to get something, though, aren't they? Something that's going to help them moving forward. Otherwise, there's not a great deal of progression in it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be to the point where it makes your army broken. I think it's just going to be fun added bits which allow you to kind of create your narrative and your storyline, and to kind of just keep it going. It's probably going to just be fun things. I don't think it's going to be anything which changes the core elements of that particular unit or anything like that. Or at least that's what I'm imagining anyway.
That's just my concern about it anyway. The one thing that might prevent me from getting into it. But like you say, we don't know enough about it.
We can only assume that. I mean, that's obviously going to be an issue. You would hope that a company as big as GW would have seen that particular issue and did things to try and nip it in the bud before it got too serious.
All I'd say is, if they didn't, the playtesters will have. So I'm pretty sure that would have been addressed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that being the narrative side of things, like they also showed off preview for the matched play. Now, I know me and you, Chris, spoke about this last night. Points values are going up across the board. So it's really weird, because does this mean we're just going to get less models on the table if points values are going up? I mean, how drastically? I'd like to see how drastically points are increased, because
it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
How's it going to affect horde armies? This
exactly, yeah, because the whole point of a gaunt is it's cheap. It's
yeah,
cheap
I still think you're going to have the advantage when it comes to numbers. I think from from what I can remember reading on it, the idea is because the points have been increased across the board, it means that there will be fewer models on the table, so therefore games will naturally be quicker. Perhaps it makes you as well take smaller unit sizes, so rather than taking a unit of 10, you think, actually, so that I can take these other units that I want to include, I need to take a unit of 5.
Yeah, but there are all those armies that do rely on taking big max squads of things.
Yeah, that directly hurts horde armies.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be, even though there will be points, like I said, a points increase across the board, I don't think it's going to negate that sort of element from a horde army. I still think you're going to be able to field large numbers, Ben, but I just don't think it's going to be necessarily in the same quantity. It'll probably, again, compared to what other armies are able to field, the sort of the stats or like the ratio will probably still be pretty much the same. I just think overall there's going to be less models on the board.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, Ben, but I'm not sure what kind of percentage increase you're talking. Yeah.
This is interesting, though, isn't it? Because a model's effectiveness is key to how much it costs you in points to take it. Gaunts are effective because they're cheap. If you obviously increase the points value, it might negate, like, you can increase
the
like,
bars.
Go on.
But the bar's been increased, like, for everything, so they're still going to be cheap compared to everything else. So it's
Well,
not
what I'm saying
like they're being brought up to match other units. Those other units are also being increased. So therefore, your gaunts are still going to be cheap in comparison to a lot of other things. So you're still going to want to fill out your army with gaunts.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, Chris. As everything had the same sort of percentage points increase across the board. If that's the case, then basically you're right. The game will be exactly the same, except everything will be smaller, pretty much. But
Yeah, the thing is, right? If you imagine like the points of everything doubled, right, and a 2,000 point game went to a 4,000 point game, then there's literally no change. But if the points of everything doubled and a 2,000 point game stayed as it was, then Horde armies are really going to suffer.
yeah, because the guns are still the same, the stats are still the same on all the weapons and whatnot. It's just there's going to be less models, and that hurts Horde armies, which is obviously like a big issue.
Or then you could just escalate it and say, we'll run a 3,000 point game instead.
Well, that's it, though, isn't it? That ties into the command points thing that they released, because now with command points the way they work now, obviously you generate command points by having detachments. But going forward in the new edition, everyone will have the same number of command points. So if we play Strike Force, which is the new 2,000 point limit game, which is what we would normally play, both me and whoever I'm playing, or for example, me and you, Jamie, would both start off with 12 command points flat.
Allegedly.
Well, allegedly, unless you have more than one detachment, in which case that detachment will cost you extra command points. But what's the point of you bringing an extra detachment when you can fit all your stuff in one detachment? Because this is for me a direct attempt at trying to tackle soup.
It is, isn't it? Because that's a problem.
Yeah, it's there. I mean, like you're going to be penalised for taking anything outside of your faction, effectively. So if you got a Chikari raiding party that decide to bring some Dark Creepers around for some fire support, they're going to automatically have less command points to spend on stratagems. Now, does that negate the usefulness of those Dark Creepers? Me and Chris were talking about this before the recording. These kind of soup won't go away, because fundamentally there are units in the game that are just crazy good for what they do. For the price point they are and what they do, they're just crazy good. So they're not going to go away, but we will see the new sort of soup list float to the top, and I just think it'll identify the potential units that might need looking at, because it's like, well, every time an Imperium player does this, and they always ally in these for this reason, then obviously they're just going to be highlighting the potential units that need changing, aren't they?
It's like Marine armies and Custodes armies taking a squad of Imperial Guard or a battalion for just like command points, because they can't generate their own command points enough, can they?
It's going to make things more fluffy, which is nice as well. So it is going to be more thematic in that sense. So, like you say, rather than having Custodes with a crap ton of Imperial Guard, it's just going to be primarily Custodes. So, yeah, I quite like the sound of it. It'd be interesting, though, how it's going to affect armies like Chaos. So if you have World Eaters, who would then obviously naturally take Demons of Khorne, that's quite themed. So is that going to cost you? Is that going to penalise armies like that?
Well,
I guess it still will, yeah, won't it?
Yes, unless they change it so you said you're allowed to include, because it says in the Genestealer Codex, you've got Battle Brood Brothers, which says you're allowed to take a unit of Imperial Guard in a Genestealer Cult army, or vice versa, sort of thing, and you're allowed to take them in the same detachment. Unless they have a rules wording like that, then yeah, you will be penalised for it.
So the Mark of Khorne or whatever then allows them to be put into the same detachment.
Yeah, something like that. That's the way they'll get around it. But were you saying it being a bit more fluffy? With missions going forward now, command points seem to be changed. Not command points, victory points. You'll have your primary mission objective, which will be the same for both players. But there is now a new subclass of objectives, and I think they've taken this directly from the competitive scene. And these secondary objectives you can sort of tailor now to your own individual playstyle. So, Chris, this directly helps you, because obviously with you playing your Grey Knights, you never had the command points, and you were always sort of, well, once every other person's codex dropped, you were sort of on the back foot all the time because obviously the size of your army.
Yeah,
but now you can obviously tailor your secondary objectives to your strengths.
Yeah, I disagree. I think this helps everybody.
I think it does help everyone, but I think it allows armies like Grey Knights. I mean, Grey Knights were already... They're in a much better place before this new edition dropped because of the changes that were made in the Psychic Awakening book for them. But yeah, it kind of helps to balance out those issues for armies like Grey Knights. I think it just, again, it gives you much more freedom to field the type of army that you want. So as you said to me before, Ben, if you want to field an army primarily made up of paladins, then you can.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to have into, because they're saying that going forward, when the codexes are re-released or people get new versions of the codexes, you're going to get your own sort of like secondary objective deck that you can build, but you're only allowed to take one from each sort of bracket. So you could tailor pretty much every game so you can have... So obviously, me being a close combat army, I can imagine I'm going to get things like, devour an enemy in close combat, things like that, which will play to my strengths, which also games won't... They're not going to have this sort of like massive swing, because we've all had games where you just with the cards, the objective cards.
Yeah, you draw a really good hand.
Yeah.
You score them all, and then you get 3 with all your D3 rolls, and all of a sudden you've got like 10 points in a turn.
Yeah, and your opponent's like, right, okay, my turn. Domination, kill a flyer. You've only got one flyer, and he's all the way back there.
Pack up and go.
Yeah, and you're like, how the fuck am I meant to come back from this unless I table my opponent, and that's not going to happen. So I think it's good to have that, so you can just eliminate that swing, make games a more close thing. Which would be nice.
And aside from the balance issue, I think it's more thematic, and it lets you play your army how you want to play it, which I think is really good.
Yeah, I mean, the two different factions would be focusing on the same goal, surely. Like the main objective, yeah, but secondary objectives, obviously, like planting bombs and decoys and all that kind of thing.
I mean, like 1 week you could like say, I want to build a list that's designed to go out and hunt characters, and then take the assassination objective, and then you can play it like that.
We've said before that if they can walk a fine line between getting the rules right and getting the narrative feel, if they can walk that middle road, it'd be really good. And it seems like they're doing a really good job of it at the moment. But with obviously talking about command points and stratagems and whatnot, with the command points now, you're not going to be able to. What was I going to say? Completely lost my train of thought. Now that was it. Cut them down. They released a preview of a really good stratagem, which I like which I love the sound of. I'll read it for you now, verbatim from the actual Webo site. Use the stratagem for 1 command point. When an enemy unit falls back, before any enemy models in that unit are moved, roll a d6 for each model from your army that is within engagement range of that enemy unit. For each result of a 6, that enemy suffers 1 mortal wound. How amazing is that if we could just gain the little digs in at things that are falling back?
It's, as I said to you before, Ben, that's quite powerful when you have something like a squad or a large squad of gaunts in combat or something.
Fair, Ben, I think that's going to hurt you as well.
Yeah, it could do. Yeah, with Kraken.
Yeah, you do that a lot.
I know, yeah. But for 1 command point, I think that's a bargain.
Yeah, if I've got 12 to play with, why not?
That will pretty much cover everything GW have done this week that's worthwhile. The last, like I said at the top of this video, the last sort of preview they did sort of ended on a weak note. Basically, they were talking about table sizes for the games. Basically, now it seems that they're encouraging people that they can obviously play on smaller surfaces. And basically now, for Strike Force, which is what we normally play, we're talking 44 by 60, which is smaller than a 6x4 table. So, Jamie, congratulations.
Right.
You've made...
I've built my table, so that's the size I'm going to play on. Screw you.
aside from this, it's saying the minimum battlefield size, aren't they? I can see a lot of hobby shops taking advantage of this and just making minimum size tables just to fit more room, more people in the room.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. But, yeah, apart from, like I said, very weak note to end on battlefield sizes. I think they're just stating the obvious. People play on whatever size they can have, but I think it's just more of encouragement than anything. But yeah, how do you boys feel about these previews so far?
Good. I think it's encouraging. Yeah. I think it's got me excited to see what else comes out probably over this next week. In terms of when pre-orders start for the new rulebook and when the app drops. I'm hoping there'll be some information on the new app coming out this week. But we'll see.
But just thinking about that, I mean, Jamie's mentioned before that, you know, if they utilize this app right, it could be just like a really good subscription service. I mean, what would you want to see on it? If you had to pay a subscription for this, what would you want on it and what price point would you have?
I mean, it's worth stating that there's been no mention of it being a subscription for this particular app.
Oh no, yeah, there's been no mention of it whatsoever. But I'm just saying that this could, you know, they could go in that direction with it.
I don't think they will.
No, I think it's primarily going to be to allow you to create your army lists, allow you to maybe keep all of the FAQ information within the app as well. So certain literature can be accessed through the app. I can't see them incorporating any of the sort of like the stories, the 40k stories, or the hobby stories into it. So any of the audio books or any of the books themselves into that. I think that they're already available on different apps, so I don't see what the benefit is of having that included within this one app. So yeah, I think it's primarily going to be just purely for the game purposes. Maybe painting tips as well. So little hobby sorts of videos and stuff like that for painting tips or building tips or whatever it is.
I mean, they've already got the painting app, but I'd like them to. I'd like to see more of the painting stuff available on like an app like that. Sort of like because what they've got right now for the painting is just basically a list of paints and basically showing you where they go on the model.
Yeah, I think they'll just consolidate it all down into one app.
We never know. It's obviously interesting to look at. I mean, I think they could, if they did it right, they could potentially make a really good app here. With obviously, if the core rules will be free, apparently, so they may come free with this app. You never know.
I think it'll be an army builder with some rules on it, and it'll be free. And that's it.
Well, we're going to be a ways off from quote unquote 9th edition yet, haven't we? We've still got War of the Spider and Pariah to get through.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Forget about them.
War of the Spider. Who's in that again?
Fabulous Bill.
And who?
Custodes and Death Guard, and yeah, that's it. So yeah, we still got that story to unravel and follow, and we've still got Pariah, which will be on the cusp of 9th edition, I imagine.
Stop overshadowing their own stuff with new stories, haven't they?
I think they might have, I think this entire epidemic might have forced the hand a little bit, though, to be fair.
You reckon?
It would be interesting to know what their original plans were, if they had any before this all started. I mean, would we be hearing about 9th edition still at this time, or would it be like a couple of months down the line?
I reckon, because this sort of falls into line for when they were going to have their new big, or it was going to be their fancy new Games Day, which was going to be back at the NEC. So I would not be surprised if they always planned for 9th edition, or whatever it's going to be called, to be announced at that point.
You could be right, but I just think it's a bit weird personally. I mean, we've still got, like I said, War of the Spider and Pariah, and all the previews that go along with them, but they've chosen to do a week of previews for 9th edition, which still might be a month or two away. I just find it really strange, unless they're dropping 9th edition like before Psychic Awakening's wrapped up.
Possibly, they could do. There's not going to be.
Feels a bit odd to me.
Yeah, I would suspect that the rules for 9th edition are going to drop after Psychic Awakening is finished, so that way all races can benefit from the new rules with their new supplements from that particular saga. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens after that, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to be one particularly good thing for Jamie to look forward to is obviously he'll be getting his new codex before you and me, Chris, won't he? Because he's helping launch Ninth Edition, isn't he, with Necrons?
Yes. Yeah.
So it'd be scary robot boys and space bros.
It makes perfect sense for Necrons to get a brand new codex though, because probably there are going to be plenty of units, or there are going to be some units which are going to be obsolete now, or at least
so mine's still got spelling mistakes in it.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God, really?
So it makes perfect sense because the models are going to be updated. There's plenty of new units. So I can't see why they wouldn't create a brand new codex for them at this stage. Whether or not we get new codexes coming out in this, in the near future, Ben, I couldn't say. I almost feel like inclined to say that we're not going to get like a line of new codexes coming out for each army. I don't see that happening with what they've already announced.
Mate, November is the time for NID codexes. It's always been the same. Then you got October as well.
Yeah, but you said that last year, and then you got nothing.
That's true, but even I'm allowed to hope for little things like that. But yeah, I mean, anything else you boys want to add before we wrap up?
No, not at this stage. Just excited to see what comes out over this coming week.
Jay?
For me, quietly optimistic.
Quietly optimistic, and I think that's pretty much all we can ever be, really. Well, anyway, if you guys liked, obviously, give it a thumbs up. Please, if you didn't like, give it a thumbs down. At this point, we'll take anything we can get. Leave your comments in the comment section below, and we'll catch you all next time on Triple Top Hat. See you later.
Bye.